Hi ladies, as promised, I'm here with a second video, and this video is going to be towards our study and some things that I wanted to share. And it's very interesting. When we first started the study, I thought about this a lot, and I was going to do a video in the beginning, but I think that God wanted me to wait till the end because of some of the things that we learned together. And so I'm just going to start with some of the things that Lysa says, and then I'll share what has been on my mind and what some things that I've learned through this study. So in this last chapter, Lysa said a few things that really caught my eye. Freedom is not tied to a person's size. As I shared the other day, I've been both very thin, underweight, and obviously at this point in my life, I'm not at that. I'm completely opposite, and they actually call it morbidly obese. So I have not really been doing some of the things that God has called me to do, and doing these videos is one of them. Amanda has been with me for a while, as some of you have, and she said something to me a couple studies ago about how she just kind of noticed that that she maybe felt that what was the word she used? I can't remember the exact word, but maybe I was getting burnt out or something. And it really wasn't that. It was that I was letting some of my self-body images and some of the health issues really stop me from doing some of the things that God's called me to do. Fatigue has a really big part of that. And when you already struggle with fatigue from health issues, with MS, fatigue is there, but I do have B12 deficiency also, and so many other diagnoses that I really have to pay attention to my body and understand my body. And I think women, as women, we're kind of in tune. We carry babies, and even if you've never carried a baby, you're still probably pretty in tune to your body. We have changes to our systems every month, and so it makes us a little more aware of what's going on in our bodies. And I think that that's why, in a way, when you go to medical, I've done a lot of research on this, so it's not just coming out of my mouth, but it's something that men kind of get faster reaction at the doctors than us ladies, because we go through so many things, and sometimes doctors don't understand us, and we're more in tune. So we could be catching a cold and actually know today that you're starting to feel crappy, and tomorrow then you have full strep throat, and we're more in tune to that, where I think that just the males in general, they just don't know, as their bodies are different, and we're just different in that way. And it's kind of leading into what I wanted to talk about, but there was a couple other things that Lysa said here that I really wanted to talk about. His word holds the key for anyone wanting to overcome food issues, be they slight, severe, or anywhere in between. And I'm going to just add any other issues, any addiction issues or self-image issues or any of those things. His word is enough. And sometimes we've talked about this, a few of us, that we will go to a friend before we go to God, or we'll go to our husband and before we go to God, or we'll go to food or an addiction or whatever. We put something before God, and we need to learn, I think, built into us. Many of us grew up, most of us are in the same age group, even though maybe some of you that are younger have experienced this, that lost track of what I was saying. I was going to type this all up so that I didn't do that. To ask for help, and sometimes I think that what we learned about it not being okay to ask for help, sorry, my puppy is right here. But learning to not ask for help, I think, also hindered us from going to God first, because we actually watched and learned, and society says it's okay to go complain or gossip or do those things instead of going and praying first. And so, that's one of the things I've learned through Made to Crave and this book, is that I need to do better about going to God before I go to something else. And so, even though we know that, sometimes it's hard to remember that. And so I wanted to make sure that we talked about that. And on Psalm 107, she wrote down, He sent out His word and healed them. He rescued them from the grave. Amen. Not starting Monday, but starting right now. I love that little phrase. And she said, I have found my want to physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So I wanted to kind of talk about the difference between me and my husband. Now, a lot of doctors, if we go to our family doctor and we both have like appointments next to each other and we just go in together, a lot of doctors will assume, and most people will assume, because we both are overweight, and I'm only like 20 or 30 pounds less than my husband right now, but they assume that it's because obviously we're married, we're probably eating the same things, and it could be further from the truth. Like I said, my nickname is Rabbit. I eat a lot of vegetables and those things, but I've had to have a lot of steroids in my life. All three of the babies I gave birth to, I had steroids for their lungs, and I will share that as a skinny, very thin person back then, having those steroid shots for the baby's lungs is what they were for, because I had preemies, would make me blow up like a balloon. Like, you can, and if you've ever seen this with anybody, and this is what they do to me today too. But I've had sinus surgeries, and with sinuses, you get a lot of steroids. My MS, I get a lot of steroids, and it never matters. Just even like an injection in the back, which I can't have those anymore, and we're kind of determining that the steroids actually make my MS worse, and it's probably because I've had steroids so much in my life, from the childbirth to surgeries to like the MS and everything, that it's just the go-to thing for flares and those kind of things in those situations. But it is almost like after I had those medications, I never lost that puffiness. I mean, you can even see in my face today that I have a ton of puffiness, where if you look at a picture maybe from like 2 days ago, I look a lot thinner in the face, and I feel thinner, and it's really strange. Just, that's what health does to us. Like, having health issues does that to us. And I know my eating habits have a lot to do with this. It's not that I'm eating a lot and I'm eating extra. My issue is that I don't eat. I drink a lot of soda, and that's where I'm getting my calories from. That's where I'm not getting nutrition, the vitamins and stuff that we need in our life. And I'll go back to the fact that I have fatigue. It's the easiest thing for me to grab that is easy, and it tastes good. So if I'm fatigued, for some reason, I know that there's an actual technical scientific name for this, but I don't have thirst for some reason. And so the only reason really that I get anything is because it tastes good, or, that kind of thing. So to me, soda tastes good. And I mean, I like sweet tea and that kind of stuff too, but it's the one thing, obviously, that, with sugars and stuff like that has a ton of things with additives and addiction type situations. I mean, I would compare my soda addiction to any other kind of addiction. It is that bad. Again, though, I make these excuses, and my husband likes to get it for me, because I was going to show you the 5 sheets that I have. I have 5 different, from esophagus to the bottom, different diagnoses, and they gave me these charts. And these charts are 2 to 3 pages long on what to eat and what not to eat. And when I would go to, say, paper A for, say, gastroparesis, I would go to my nutcracker esophagus achalasia. That's what's wrong with my throat or my esophagus. What would be listed on this as the do this, do that, and don't eat this and don't eat that. This one has the opposite, and I have 5 of those, and I was like trying to like cross-reference. So what am I supposed to have? And even all of them, 4 of them, I would say drink more water. But on the 5th one, which is my esophagus one, it says don't drink water. Drink something with consistency, because I choke, and my flap. What it is my sphincters are backwards, and this one never closes. The one where your airway, when you take a drink or you eat, your airway closes, so that way you don't breathe in what you're eating. And mine doesn't close all the way, so there's always something there. And I think that has something to do with my thirst too, because it's kind of disgusting, but we have saliva, in our throats, and we swallow. And I always have that because my sphincter doesn't close. And then my other sphincters are backwards or pushed backwards or whatever it is that they call it. So I choke on fluids. And so I think that's a little bit where it comes from. So the thing about the water is that I'm supposed to add thickener to it. I don't know if you've ever tried thickener. But I'm not a milk chalky type person. I'm lactose intolerant anyways, but it makes me gag. I have a terrible gag reflex. And, so adding thickener to anything is just disgusting. So to me, juice and soda are the thing to go to, because it has a natural not natural obviously, but juice has a natural thickener that helps you swallow. So, okay. So we have those issues. So we may have a health issue, like I'm talking about, that causes us to have a lot of confusion around eating, and then self-image. I walk with a walker. I have my cane right here. The dog's tripping over it right now, and she's getting tangled up around me because I have her on her leash, so that way she doesn't jump out the window. But it's hard because you kind of need a professional. I mean, you do need a professional in my experience, but also you don't know what to expect, so you also put that on the back burner because you might not like what they say. I mean, that's truth, is I might not like what they say. So let's look at my husband. And like I told you before, I love vegetables, and I'm not supposed to eat raw vegetables anymore, which is really, really hard for me, because it's funny, one of Lisa's books, that might even been this one or the last one that we read, she said something about she doesn't crave carrots and celery. I do. I love those things. I grew up with a garden in my backyard. My uncle had a community service garden in our area, so we were always helping him with his garden. My mom and dad have always had gardens, and I always tried to have one in my yard, or at least, if I lived in an apartment, a couple plants of tomatoes and stuff, so that we could have those. And the opposite of that is my husband. And so when we look at my husband, he's diabetic. His dad was diabetic. His aunt and uncles, he has a family history of diabetes, type 2. In addition to that, he has other issues like heart disease, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. He's had brain surgery. He's bipolar. And he's had his thyroid radiated off. So, thyroid has a lot to do with our hormones and those kind of things. And obviously he likes when I share this stuff, because he learns too through it, and I learned through it. But his issue is that he will eat and not even know he's eating, and he'll be bored or whatever, and he'll eat during those times. And I know, I get bored and sometimes eat chips or something too, but we try not to keep that stuff in our house. But he got home last night, for instance, and I had already had something small to eat or whatever. I don't even remember, but I think I had eaten something like a little pizza or something, and I'm not a pizza fan, so it was just I needed to eat, and I knew I did. Where was I going? He got home and he said he wasn't feeling good and he didn't want to eat. But then after about an hour or two of him being home, we both kind of like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. Yeah, me too. Well, we ordered out and had delivered. Not that we do that very often, but he wasn't feeling good and those kind of things. But those are those things that we talked about through the study that are really hard to get a hold of, because now when I'm looking at it from today, both of us said we were kind of hungry. That's the first indicator. Are you kind of hungry, or are you hungry? And yes, our body will tell us, just like when the saying of, if you're thirsty, you're past where you should be. I've had 78 kidney stones, so I know that saying pretty well. And so it's also that way with food. So if you're kind of hungry, you should be thinking about like what you're going to be getting, and or already have a plan for that, which is what Lysa talked about a lot. But because we hadn't seen each other for so long, it's been a week. The first thing that we were like, you want to get us something to eat as a treat? We're together and we don't want to really go cook, which we love cooking together. It's fun. We are a great team when it comes to going into the kitchen. And to be sidetracked a little bit here, we used to do freezer meals, and what it was is you prepare all the fresh ingredients and then you put them in the freezer, and then the day that you want to have those, instead of driving through the drive-thru, it takes 10 to 20 minutes to like cook it, because you already like pre-prepared everything and cut everything up and it's in the freezer. And those can last 3 to 6 months in your freezer depending on the ingredients. Anyway, so we used to do that when we had our house. Not having a big freezer and stuff, it's harder to do those kind of things. But still, with my husband, like, he thinks about food all the time. And I think that that's where I'm the opposite, is because he talks about it so much. I mean, we could be eating something that we like said, okay, tomorrow morning we're going to have this for breakfast and this for lunch and this for dinner. And we could be eating one of those and he'll be talking about what's for dinner and how he can't wait for it or whatever. Or if we didn't like discuss it beforehand, he's already talking about what are we having for dinner and stuff. I mean, like, literally for him, it's food is always a thought. And for me, food is never a thought. So sometimes we kind of have to meet in the middle. And the reason I'm telling you all of this, like, that's a lot of stuff, is that none of us are the same. None of our images, our self-image issues are going to be the same. Us ladies have a lot of tendencies to have certain ones because of society and stuff. But the issues that we run into, even if they're the same, so say me and you both have a soda problem, the reason you have a soda problem and the reason I have a soda problem are probably completely different. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of health things that I'm like, I just drink a soda, where for somebody else, it could be that it helps like them get through the day because of the caffeine or whatever. So just me and my husband alone in the same house, both considered morbidly obese, we do not have the same issues, even though you would, expect that a husband and wife are probably eating all the same things, and, not always, but if they're both overweight, then they probably are eating all the same things, and that's not the case. Like, especially in our situation, he's on the road. If I'm with him, I cook, but if I'm not with him, even though he might have everything set out for him, he'll go get something at a fast food restaurant because it's a little easier than having to stop the truck, make something, go again, and then stop and get it, where he can just run in and get something. I mean, it makes sense. Like, easy is easy. And when you're a truck driver, you don't get to just drive into, the health market. Like, there's not very many places that truck drivers can get into. So it makes a lot of sense, but it also makes us really need to like look at the reasons we're doing what we're doing and how we can help each other. Maybe he can help me, which he does, remember to eat, especially when he's home, because he talks about food so much. It reminds me, it's like 7 p.m. and I haven't had anything to eat today. I better eat something. And then for him, and it's a delicate situation, because even with guys, it's hard for them. And, I'll say, like, last night we got, sorry about that, there's a car moving in front of me. After we ate, And remember I said, he said, we both said we were kind of hungry. We didn't say we were hungry. We were kind of hungry. But after we ate, he ate his whole meal. I, one chicken strip and my salad and a little bit of potato. And so I still have all my leftovers from yesterday. And yeah, what time is it now? 1:30, 2 o'clock. And I haven't eaten today. So I have had a soda. And so I just wanted to share with you ladies, like, I don't know exactly like how you got to where you are. You know, we can be skinny and still have a problem with food. Like I said before, when I was really thin, it wasn't that I wasn't eating the wrong things or doing what I do today, like skipping breakfast and lunch and only having one meal, which was kind of normal for me. It was that I was exercising all the time. I was in bowling leagues. I was in a swimming league. I played softball. You know, I did a lot of activities. So when you're doing that kind of thing, you can eat a little more calories, you know, but as we also age as women, weight is harder and harder to get off. And then you add health issues, or you add medications or hormones or any of those things. You know, I know the study was really about God and our relationship with God. And our relationship with God needs to come before anything. Food, our phone, our kids, our spouse. God comes before all. And it's just amazing to me that we so often look in the mirror and we don't like what we see. And I watched a little documentary the other night, and it's where I came up with the idea that we need to look in the mirror and actually say things that we like about ourselves. Because ladies, God made you who you are. And maybe you are having a struggle right now, but there's a lesson in that struggle. And I just absolutely love that he's put us in a place where he's still a parent to us every single day, and he's teaching us something every single day. And you know, my kids are adults and they teach me things now, and but I'm still teaching them also by the way I act and by the way I talk. And I think it's very important that we remember when we say stuff about ourselves that we're saying that to God. So, you know, it's really, really important that when you say, oh, I'm overweight, or I'm not healthy, or oh, I don't like my hair, or I don't like my bottom, or my butt's too big, or, you know, any of those kind of things, that we're basically telling God he did something wrong. Ladies, no, God did nothing wrong. You are absolutely beautiful. We're all created as his children, and he makes no mistakes. Like, that's the biggest thing that I think that we have to remember. He makes no mistakes. So whether you're going through a healthy time of your life, or you're going through a period that you need some extra help and you need to reach out to God and say, God, I need your help with this. Because right now, ladies, I need God's help with this. Like, not just because, oh, I'm heavy and those kind of things. But as I said in my other video today, my tailbone is so bad. The pain is excruciating. I've had 78 kidney stones, and it's very, very painful. I had a hysterectomy and got out of the hospital, and then had 3 kidney stones and had to go back in the hospital for another 7 days. So I was in the hospital almost 2 weeks and had to have surgery again after my hysterectomy. So I know what pain is, but my pain and your pain are going to be different. Like, I was just explaining this to my husband. He's having back pain. I'm having tailbone pain. We're both overweight. Our weight is going to make that harder, and it's not going to be easy to lose the weight to make our backs and tailbones feel worse. And I would be silly to say that my weight doesn't contribute to the pain that I'm in with my tailbone. Yes, I had an injury. I fell out of the semi. Yes, I fell out of a chair a couple months ago. But when you add insult to injury, because I'm overweight, and, you know, yes, I can blame a lot of it on medications and stuff, but at what point do I turn it from this is why to this is what it's going to be? And so that's kind of what I've learned through, I'll start again Monday, is that even though I have a million reasons why my mobility thinks I can't, and I shouldn't say I can't, because I can, it's just I'm limited. My mobility is limited. It's not that I can't do it, it's limited. So I have to do what I can do when I can do it. And that's all I have control over. God has control over everything else from there on out. Ladies, you are wonderfully made by God. He created us. He created us in His image. So let's stop saying to ourselves, I don't like what God created, and start saying, I love what God created. He created me. He created you. It makes me so emotional that we forget that, and that He's such a loving, forgiving Father, that He sent His Son to die for us so that we could remember that He created us in His image. I'm just going to stop right there, ladies, because I think that we have grown so much as a group together, and you have all shared such personal things with me, and I'm so honored about that. I'm such a crybaby. I just want you to know, every time you look in the mirror, say, God made me. God created me to be who I am. I love you so much, and remember that God loves you.